Apologies again for taking a while to get back here. I had some cat medical stuff to take care of. Something I forgot to mention in the last video about the stretched out janky hair bands I had been keeping and using. Brooke said, I think you're used to diminishing yourself or reducing your pleasures in life, and it might take a little while for that habit to move around to something more supportive. Also, you're living in a city where there are a lot of people and a lot of unsatisfied people, a lot of stress. It's overcrowded and there's a lot of pollution, so you could be absorbing that environment because you're a sensitive person, and that could be affecting you in its own way too. I think it could be beneficial to you to get out to open spaces with lots of trees and less people, because you do absorb other people and then you claim other people's feelings on some level. So some new things I did after our session: I went to get a massage, which I never do except when I go home to visit my mom and she takes me. It was novel for me to treat myself and it was really nice. They had 60-minute and 90-minute sessions. I chose 60 minutes because, hey, this treating myself stuff is new. And during the massage, it felt longer than 60 minutes. And I thought, maybe the masseuse thought I wanted 90 minutes, but it felt so nice I didn't stop her. Turns out it was 60 minutes. It just felt longer. I'd like to make massages a regular thing to allow myself that pleasure in life. I also called a friend of mine who struggles with depression. We've been supporting each other and sharing things we've done that have helped shift our outlook. A while back, he invited me to go with him to a beautiful meditation garden that's part of the Self-Realization Fellowship. It's called Lake Shrine, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So serene. We went out there again and just sat in the sun for a couple hours talking about life. It was really nice. Another thing I've been doing is just going out to the backyard and lying under the tree. This is what I see when I look up, and I take the time to appreciate that simple little pleasure. Sometimes I fall asleep and have a little nap. As much as I want all the clutter gone yesterday, I'm trying to ease up on the pressure I put on myself that might be counterproductive, stressing myself out with my own expectations. Thanks to those of you who left comments saying you wanted to hear about working with Brooks on VHS tapes. It's obviously old technology, but the content, right? Challenging for me to let go of what's on the tapes. Brooks asked me how many VHS tapes I have. They're scattered in various places, so I don't actually know. I've gotten rid of some along the way, some that were less difficult. The recordings vary from movies and programs I like to creative work of mine, and the most personal recording is one of a special moment with my mom. The library downtown opened up a lab where you can book sessions to transfer old media formats to digital, but that requires an investment of time. I'm not going to digitize movies or programs, but I feel like I want to digitize the more personal stuff. It can be fun to look back at things I did earlier. I had digitized a handful of those VHS tapes with the intention of tossing out the tapes afterwards. Then the people at the lab said, you should still keep the original recording because the original is going to be the best quality. I told Brooks, I know that's the opinion of other people, but once I heard that, it stuck in my head, and now I had difficulty tossing out the tapes. Brooks asked me my reason for wanting to get rid of the tapes. I answered, they take up space. It's weird, I often feel like a minimalist trapped in a clutter's mind. Like, I don't actually like big things. I don't like being surrounded by lots of things. A friend of mine has a good amount of stuff, and even though he's organized, I often feel itchy being at his house. He gets orders from Amazon frequently, like he's got a pineapple core and a mango slicer. I used to be into single-purpose gadgets, but now I'm at a place where I'd just rather have a really good knife that can do those different tasks. Things at his house are orderly and put away, but I can feel it when I'm there. To which Brooks said, yeah, because you're really sensitive. Like my mom has a huge wallet, and a wallet that big makes me itchy. I love my compact money clip. 2 credit cards, my driver's license, and insurance card, that's it. I think that's why I feel even more agony with the stuff around me that I keep out of a sense of responsibility, because I actually don't want it, but it's the getting rid of that can be so difficult for me. Brooks then said, there's something nice about getting rid of records of things that we did in the past, because it allows things today to come into our lives. So perhaps by letting go of some of these videos, it might make it easier for you to do new creative things. I think it's good to shed old creative stuff, unless it's part of what you're doing now. So how would you feel about letting go of some of the VHS tapes of your past projects? I decided to start with the ones that I had digitized. Brooks asked me how many I had already digitized, and I answered 5. He asked me, so would you be all right letting those go since you have a digital copy? At that point, I think I squeezed my eyes shut and said, I'm trying to block out what the people at the lab said about keeping the original media. Brooks pointed out, yeah, so that's their opinion. I added how at the lab orientation, they had some extravagant recommendation to keep 3 copies for safety. 1 in your home, 1 away from your home in case of fire, and 1 on the cloud. I remember hearing that and thinking, are you kidding me? That seems so overkill. Brooks reinforced, that doesn't feel right to you. Everybody's going to have an opinion about stuff, and you're going to have your feeling about what's right for you. People love to tell other people what to do. That's part of human nature. But we're all different. Everybody has different needs. So we can suggest things. It's like when you go to a restaurant and the waiter suggests certain dishes, but you know what you like. The same goes with our stuff and what we do with our lives. All right, these are digitized. It doesn't feel good for me to hang on to the VHS copy. I know that's what that person recommended, but it doesn't feel good. Like if somebody walking by stopped and stood on your foot and it hurt your foot, you would say something like, that hurts, or you would move your foot away, right? That's what this is. What this person is doing or suggesting hurts. It doesn't feel right. I agreed and said, maybe because I'm sensitive, I start to believe it, and then I'm fighting with myself. Like, oh, maybe I do want to hang on to them. To which Brooks said, yeah, but then you don't feel good about it, right? Our feelings are our indicators. They tell us what we like and what we don't like. There just happens to be a part of you that feels like you need to take care of other people first before yourself. Make other people happy. But if you're not happy in your home, you're not going to feel good about yourself. And so that's why you have the right to say, sure, you recommended that, but I don't like that. That's not for me. That may work for you, but it doesn't work for me. So we respect other people. We respect what other people like, but we take care of ourselves. What Brooks was saying made perfect sense to me, but I was still feeling resistant. I told him, I know there's no right or wrong, but I feel like maybe I'm wrong if I don't follow their recommendation. I understand this intellectually, but there's a part of me that's still holding on because I feel like they know something I don't know, or if something happens to the digitized copy, I'll regret it. I know that's projecting into the future, and that's anxiety, and that's rumination. I know all that intellectually, but emotionally, it just makes it hard for me to let go. At this point, I started crying again, and I said, but I want to take care of myself. Brooks then said, yeah, that's what this is all about, taking care of yourself. You get to say no. Like if you told somebody, this is what you got to do, and they didn't do it, how would you feel? I answered, that's their choice. To which Brooks pointed out, yeah, so why wouldn't that apply to you too? Then I held up the tape of the event with my mom and said, this one's very special. Even though I have it digitized, I don't know why I feel like I need this backup. Brooks said, well, because it was special to you. You feel like you want to remember it, so you're afraid of losing it. But the thing is, that's living in fear of. That's living with pain rather than pleasure. Because there's this feeling of, if I get rid of it, if the other one goes down, then that's going to be terrible. So you're living in fear rather than, I have a digital copy. If I lose that, I'm not going to forget about it, and maybe I'll have another opportunity with my mom. But I think that just means you care about your relationship with your mom. Are you close with your mom? I answered yes. Brooks said, so that's really nice. And is your mom still alive? Yes. So you have your relationship with your mom. She's living. You can email her or call her on the phone and talk to her. The recorded moment is past. You have a digital copy. You can look at it whenever you want to. But if you lose that, you're not going to lose your mom or your relationship with her. What he said made me realize that if I keep holding on to too much stuff and isolating myself because of it, that detracts from my relationship with my mom while she's alive. Worries over the condition of my home make it stressful for me to travel, so it keeps me from seeing my mom more often while she's alive, and I could be spending meaningful time with her. Brooks also pointed out, you looked happier when you talked about your relationship with your mom than you did when you were like, I need 2 copies of this recording in case I lose one of them. So I let go of the 5 VHS tapes that I had digitized, but I cried while doing it. Brooks asked me what I was feeling. I told him, if that's how difficult it is with VHS tapes I have digital copies of, how much harder is it going to be for tapes I don't have digital copies of? How long is all this going to take me? Brooks said, well, that how long part, we don't know. But the thing is, you did something. You were able to let go of something that before now you were like, I'm not going to let this go. And then you let it go. You did that. That's significant. From an outside observer just watching you, you look so much more relaxed and peaceful when you let those go than when you were hanging on to them. You may not have noticed that because sometimes it's hard to notice when we're feeling a lot. But you look lighter, like there was a heaviness in your face when you were hanging on to those VHS tapes. And when you let them go, there was this release. And that's why I say it's significant, because you did that. But then you followed it up with the thought of, how long is it going to take me to do all this? That part's clutter. To comment on yourself like that is clutter because that doesn't actually help you let go of stuff. What does is, I let go of these VHS tapes that I'd been hanging on to because somebody else said I should. And now I let them go. And I got a piece of myself back. I did something. And that's all you've got is what's happening now. I was living with these 5 VH tapes and it was frustrating me because I wanted to get rid of them, but I couldn't. And then I just did it. That's how you move forward in little steps. What happens to all of us is we hear a concept like, clutter is anything that's no longer serving me, so I gotta get rid of it. Which is true. That's a true concept. But you can't just do that in one fell swoop. It takes the time it takes, and sometimes it takes longer. You were stuck in a particular way and then you let something go. What I'd like you to consider is that that was a good thing, what you did, and not have to put yourself down about anything else in the moment. Yeah, but there's all this other stuff I haven't done, and why did it take me so long to do this, and all that. The fact is, you let go of those 5 VHS tapes, and that's really good. That's an act of compassion. That's an act of love, what you did. And sometimes we have ideas of, if we really loved ourselves, this is what I would do. Or if I really cared about myself, or I was actually good at this, this is what I would do. But that's not a good measurement. A good measurement is whatever you can do when you can do it. What's not a good measurement is when we have an ideal. Oh, I will be okay if I do this, or I should be able to get rid of all these things. And because I think that, that means I can do it. And not doing it means something's wrong with me, which is not true. It happens to be what's happening. But then there's the other alternative. There are these videotapes I've been hanging on to. I got rid of them. I didn't want to, but I let them go. And now I have space for more creativity that I'm going to do at some point in the future. And I have the copies on digital. So what I just did was a really wonderful thing. I have one less thing bothering me, one less thing hanging around. And that becomes the new measuring stick. Rather than what I should be doing, this is what I just did. That's how you give yourself confidence to do more in the future. And maybe this old way of these harsh measuring sticks that you've had in the past of, I need to be like this in order to be okay, to recognize that doesn't work for you. It makes you sad, it makes you unhappy, and it makes you not want to do anything. A small change can lead to big things. I've seen that over and over again. You never know what letting go of something creates the space for something new. Maybe that means more creativity, maybe that means you meet a new friend, or maybe you find yourself being a little nicer to yourself, or a little more peace of mind. Or maybe you have an impulse to go buy something, but then you don't. Or you buy something and then realize, I don't need this, and you return it. Or you get rid of another videotape. You never know what form it's going to take. But I would like you to consider, it's okay for me to make little changes rather than across the board changes. And everything that's out there is just an idea, like a guidepost to maybe help you, but not like you have to live by them. If they happen to encourage you, great. But if they don't, it's okay to let them go. Because you're very sensitive. You don't want to use anything to feel bad about yourself. You want to be tender to yourself. Because you're so sensitive, when you're hard on yourself, it's like punching yourself in the heart. So try to side with gentleness if you can, because I think you're worth it. I think you're worth being gentle too. After our session, I discarded 13 more VHS tapes. Some of those weren't labeled at all. The part of me that cringes at uncertainty thought, oh, I need to find out what's on these before I decide whether or not to toss them. But I paused and asked myself, do you really want to invest that amount of time? You can't put life on hold while you do that. Time keeps running. And I decided it wasn't worth it, and I put them in the trash. They may or may not have had something I would have wanted to keep. I've already got enough labeled VHS tapes to make decisions on. I don't need to expand the task by watching the unlabeled ones. So if I come across an unlabeled VHS, it's out. Then I came across this labeled VHS. Oprah Clutter. I'm pretty sure this is the episode I saw on TV that made me realize that I might have an issue with hoarding behavior and not just disorganization. A loud voice in my head screamed, you need to keep this tape, or at least watch the episode before you discard it because it might have information that could help you with recovery. But I'm questioning that voice. It's kind of related to feeling like I should keep the original VHS tapes I had digitized because other people said so. That feeling of other people knowing something I don't know or having the answer I don't have. I know I've watched that Oprah episode before. I know that watching it again will take an hour of my time. I know the episode is really old because the Oprah show ended 9 years ago. I know that since that time, I've spent many, many hours researching hoarding disorder and finding holistic approaches that have been helpful in changing my thoughts and behaviors. And I know that the experts don't know everything. They don't have all the answers. They don't know what it's truly like to have this condition. So I'm not going to keep this. I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to trust that I know more about recovery than what this episode shared. I listen to a lot of Tara Brach. She shares really wonderful and often funny anecdotes to illustrate points. And I love this one she shared in January. A thief would hang around the diamond district to see if any big dealers were coming in to buy diamonds. One well-known merchant came in and bought one of the biggest, most beautiful of the gems. This thief decided to get it from him, so he followed the merchant onto a train. For 3 days, this merchant was traveling on the train. The thief did every trick in the book to try to find the diamond and steal it from the merchant. This was a thief who was really clever at his craft, and he was very frustrated because as accomplished as he was, he could not find that diamond. At the end, he actually confesses. He confronts the merchant and says, I've been tracking you for 3 days, and I just want to say I'm really baffled. The merchant looked at him and said, well, I saw you and I was suspicious, so I put the diamond in the one place you'd never find it. It's in your own pocket. As the Tibetans put it, the treasure you seek is closer than you can imagine. It's really in the eyes that are looking, the ears that are listening. It's in the heart right now that's feeling. It's within. It's the core of your being. Little by little, I'm learning to trust that what I need is within me. And the more I can trust that, the more I can let go. I've still got more VHS tapes to face, but I'm trying to remember Brooke's point about a good measurement being what I managed to let go of, as opposed to what I haven't yet let go of. So I'm letting go of this Oprah Clutter tape, and that's a wonderful accomplishment. That's something I'm proud of doing. I have one less thing bothering me, one less thing hanging around. Also, after my session with Brooks, I let go of 2 big cardboard boxes that were taking up a lot of space. And I threw out a couple plastic bottles, including one with old beauty product inside, which is new for me. Usually I spend time emptying out contents from containers. Again, I'll chalk this up to what Brooke said about small changes leading to bigger things. I made sure to hit the record button in my brain saying I was proud of myself for letting those things go. I hadn't let go of that much in quite some time, and I wanted to remember that good feeling.